I'm Dr. Dawn. Today I'm in my Saturday workout attire, and I'm going to be talking about adrenal fatigue or adrenal stress and the HPA or hypothalamic-pituitary-adrenal axis. So this is a very complex system, and it's responsible for all of our hormonal and metabolic events that increase our heart rate, blood pressure, blood sugar. For an example, if we have an immediate threat, which is perceived by our bodies, our muscles tense up, our digestive systems, reproductive systems all shut down. And with the totality of these changes, the body becomes better equipped to survive that threat. But the mechanisms that protect the body in short term, like an acute stress, however, can become very harmful or damaging over the long term. Having sufficient metabolic reserve means that the body is ready and able to appropriately meet increased demands or stress, meaning chronic. There are several habits and behaviors that trigger this HPA axis to continually or chronically be activated. And what can happen is it can result in a myriad of hormonal and problems and inflammation. Some common signs and symptoms of this chronic stress is depression, overuse of substances, alcohol, sugar, diabetes, PTSD, chronic fatigue, rheumatoid arthritis, asthma, eczema. These are just a couple. When our bodies are depleted of our metabolic reserve, the triggers could be perceived as stress, inflammation of any kind, high or low blood sugar, and our circadian rhythms of sleep are constantly being disrupted. That is why I became a faster way to fat loss coach, in addition to being a chiropractic physician in my everyday practice. I see so many patients with this dysfunction, myself included a couple years ago, but I wanted to help people to prevent this depletion. And as I entered my 50s, I was very depleted and my hormones were definitely suffering. And I knew that I needed to build more metabolic reserves as I got older. And after really realizing I needed to count my macros, make sure I was eating enough protein, I wanted to help other women as well. So I love the whole food nutrition that is part of the faster way and counting macros. I eliminated gluten, dairy at all, like 100%. And I feel like whole food nutrition but keeping track of protein has really helped. And really only eating complex carbs, and it has led to better blood sugar balance. And blood sugar dysregulation is one of the risk factors of this HPA dysregulation. Doing strategic workouts is very, very important. Building lean muscle, that is very important. You may need to alter the intensity or type of exercise that you might engage in, but I want to encourage you to begin to strength train. And you want to make sure that you increase recovery days in there as well. Reducing as many inflammatory and bad habits is going to be so important. And maintaining gluten-free, dairy-free, this kind of lifestyle is also pretty important for keeping your inflammation under control. What I also really recommend is avoiding all processed foods, because that's really what causes inflammation as well. My exercise recommendations would be tailored to each individual person, but strength training, walking, they're just so important, depending on the level of adrenal fatigue that is happening, because HIIT workouts are great, but sometimes people just aren't quite ready for them. And you have to see how much metabolic reserve you really have. So building our bodies up in the beginning is so, so important, especially if you've been under chronic stress for very long periods of time. And especially if you're over the age of probably even 30, 40, and this chronic stress just keeps depleting our bodies and depleting our bodies. So one of the most important things is to get on a macronutrient percentage schedule, as well as scheduling very strategic workouts. And over time, consistency is what's going to help with the chronic stress and adrenal fatigue, as well as turning on our parasympathetic part of our nervous system. So there's many ways to continue to do this. And as far as intermittent fasting, for someone who's chronically stressed, many times 12 hours is a sufficient amount of time. And mine varies depending on my workload, on my stress that I feel on my own body. What I find more important than anything is that when I start to work with a person and they start to track their macros, most of the time they're under eating, especially protein. And protein is crucial for building lean tissue and helping to replenish our metabolic reserves. So it's always better to eat as much whole food as possible and engage in maybe a moderate calorie deficit, depending on where you are with your insulin and your body weight. But routine rest is going to be very, very important as well. And just to begin to create an environment of self-care, both for physical and psychological stress. Just doing these things consistently should help to bring you back into a more positive road to recovery. I hope you have a great day.